What if I told you it doesn't matter what country, culture, race, or ethnic group you identify as? It doesn't matter what your politics or philosophy or religion is, or what you even believe, but that your true ultimate identity is infinite pure love, and that there's more than enough evidence through the thousands of reported cases of brothers and sisters worldwide who have died and come back to share the most profound spiritual experiences you could imagine. What if I told you you are love, and that you are loved past, present, and future forever and ever beyond infinite time and space? What would you do? How would you live your life? What would that mean to you? You know what time it is? It's mime time. Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Mime Time, a show where we talk about overcoming the identity struggle for the Asian diaspora worldwide, and really how we should live our best lives in light of the unique, glorious cultural inheritances we receive from our ancestors. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. I have an announcement to make. On March 1st, 2026, Mime Time hit 10,000 podcast downloads, according to Buzzsprout, my podcast distributor. It's a milestone. It's a big one. And I'm grateful for every download since I started this podcast in 2020. It's been 6 years since I started this podcast. And I'm not going to waste too much time comparing myself to my more influential content creator friends across various platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, with hundreds of thousands of subs and millions of downloads. I'm not going to be like, oh, I should already have 100,000 downloads. I should already have 1 million downloads by that. There's no point to that. I'm going to be very grateful and hope that it has provided some value, this podcast and the 10,000 downloads. Even just an interesting thought for someone or a laugh to someone. For someone out there listening, just that it provided some value. And I hope you're going to get something out of this episode. This day, March 31st, 2026, marks the end of 2 years since I moved back to the States here in San Diego, California. Yes, it's been 2 years since I moved back to America. 730 days. Today is day 730. Maybe if some of you guys follow me on Instagram, I've been posting, sometimes stories and I go like, oh, day 527, back in America, back in America. I don't know, it's just a fun little thing that I'm doing, counting the days. I have a very special episode for you on this special day that marks my 2 years back in America. That's right. I'm going through another phase of exploring ideas, and this time I've gone off the deep end. I'm jumping the shark. I'll spare you the details, but I've been going through a personal spiritual journey in the past couple months. I mean, the past couple years, but especially the past several months. And I started delving into the super existential rabbit hole that is near-death experiences. It's when you are dead, like clinically dead due to serious injury, accidents, drowning, illness, what have you, and then you come back to normal consciousness. But what happens to a lot of people who die and come back is they see some crazy shit. So what's up with near-death experiences? Let me give you some bullet points. Basically, people who die and come back to life report incredible emotional and psychological experiences that they cannot describe with words, including but not limited to infinite joy, love, peace, freedom, expansion of consciousness, a sensation of all these things, a sensation of connection to God or the source with the entire universe, with all creation. Seeing loved ones who have passed away, even pets, in perfect health, peace, and joy. People talk about a life review. You know, when people say their life flashes before their eyes at the end of their life, a life review, which is a deep examination of one's collective life experiences, thoughts, intents, actions that positively or negatively impacted other people and themselves, and all the tiny implications and the ripples throughout time and space for one's own actions. People talk about an extremely lucid world that is more realer than this one. That makes this life, this world that we experience now, where you're listening to my voice, that this world is just a dream. It's not anywhere near as real as the world beyond when people experience death. And people report out-of-body experiences, or they are able to witness things in the real world, or this world, like doctors and nurses working to save the lives of their physical body in the hospital, and they're floating above the operating room, the emergency room. And then when they come back, they're in tears and they're thanking the people for trying to save them and stuff like that. And they validate it upon coming back with saying, you know, particular facts or things about other people that only that no one could have known, if you get what I'm talking about, right? So, and there's lots of examples. So where's the evidence? There's a whole list of links to YouTube videos in this episode description. That's my professional, academic, scientific bibliography in this day and age. It's a bunch of YouTube links. Dr. Jeffrey Long is the founder of the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation and has supposedly studied over 5,000 cases of NDEs. I'll give a link to an interview he has with Theo Vaughn that came out a couple years ago, which is super great. I mean, right after listening to this episode of Mime Time, this dope episode, you could start learning about NDEs or getting into it with that one. It's This Past Weekend with Theo Vaughn, episode number 479, Near-Death Experience Expert Dr. Jeffrey Long. Disclaimer. As always, think for yourself. Do your own research. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt, everything I say with a grain of salt. If none of this interests you or is of value, or if you just think, you know what, Mime, I think what you're saying is just complete bullshit, that's BS, then, you know, just stop listening to this episode and, you know, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm gladly hear you out. This episode is really just to give a brief introduction to this enormous topic, to encourage you to look into it on your own, and to share my own takeaways and invite you to consider what this means for you. And I only wanted to help you and to express that everything's going to be okay, fam. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some personal takeaways and stream of consciousness ideas to consider. I'm warning you, the rest of this episode is not going to be very systematic, and the ideas may not be fully coherent, but I hope to best convey the ideas and the emotion in a way you find meaningful and valuable to you. Or you can just stop listening to this, or stop listening to me halfway through and then just click on one of the links that I'm going to share in the episode description and go from there. As far as the theme of this podcast goes, dealing with the identity struggle of Asian diaspora or any third culture kid, basically what I've come to realize as of late, and even before the whole near-death experience phase that I'm going through, I realize, like, it doesn't matter what you identify as, because truly deep down, your consciousness, your soul, the very essence of your being is pure, infinite love. And you are truly, deeply loved beyond mortal comprehension. It's waiting for all of us. I want you to imagine there's a gathering of people at a beautiful sunny beach. There's a Christian, an atheist, an Orthodox Jew, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Mormon. Enter whatever person of whatever religious or spiritual background you could imagine. having the ultimate philosophical religious debate. Who's right? Jesus is the Messiah. No, Muhammad is the one true prophet of Allah. It's freaking Joseph Smith bringing the true message of God in the golden plates. The Mormons were right all along. These people on the beach, they're impassioned, they're eloquent, they're brilliant. They're actually all highly respected and educated scholars and professionals. They've got PhDs and whatever. They spent like 20 years in the mountains and meditating or whatever, And they're putting forth the strongest cases for their perspective worldviews. And on the horizon, the sky changes and darkens, and what appears to be mountains start moving toward the beach. It's an enormous tsunami, like the tidal wave on that planet from the movie Interstellar, if you've seen it. If you've seen that movie, that's a great movie. They look at the tsunami, and there's absolutely no hope, and it washes over them. The tsunami doesn't care, fam. The tsunami doesn't care. Doesn't care what their beliefs are. It doesn't care about their religious or political worldviews. The tsunami is death. Death comes for us all. It comes for us all. But that means reunion with the source. Call it God, infinite consciousness, infinite love. You see, fam, excuse the morbid metaphor, but the tsunami not only represents death, it represents an indescribable tidal wave of love coming for each and every one of us at the end of our lives. Our lives, which are not even a blip in the infinity of time, space, and beyond. Our lives, which is just a singular tiny wave in an endless ocean, emerging from the ocean, cresting for a brief moment before crashing and going back into the ocean, back to source. So what does it matter what our identity is? What we think our identity is, our national, cultural, ethnic background or ties. We're all one big family. Humanity with the rest of the animals and plants and fungi and the material universe. It doesn't matter so much. My upbringing and my personal lifelong psychologizing or ideas of what I am as a Korean American. Am I Korean? Am I American? Or what do I identify as? I didn't grow up speaking Korean and I grew up in, whatever. Are you Chinese or Japanese? What kind of Asian are you? Well, my mom's side and the dad's side, I'm mixed, I'm Hapo, I was adopted, I'm a third culture kid. Man, whatever label we use with form to describe our appearance and our background, they're all interesting. And I love talking about them and thinking about them, but it all doesn't ultimately matter. It doesn't ultimately matter what your passport is or what you look like or what side of which man-made borders you grew up in the bigger picture. We're all on our own unique lifelong journeys, trying to find our way back home, and we will inevitably find our way back home. What matters is the quality of intent we come to with each moment of life and the love and kindness we share with each other. I have more takeaways, more stream of consciousness babblings. I can't find it, but, watching all these YouTube videos and reading all these great YouTube comments and people sharing their stories and ideas. I read this one YouTube comment. Maybe if I find it, I'll put it in the link, but I found this one YouTube comment on one of these many YouTube videos, and it stuck with me. It went something like, "This life is just a pit stop. You're in Starbucks waiting to pick up your coffee, and your friends are outside waiting in the car." It was even simpler than that. It's like you're in Starbucks and your friends are outside waiting in the car. And in the past several months, when I've been going through a difficult time, that's what I've been telling myself. And that's what I continue to tell myself when I go through a rough time. Fam, brothers, sisters, whoever's listening to this life is just a brief stop at the gas station. Your loved ones, everyone you care about and love and admire, alive or not, they love and admire you so much and are waiting for you to get back to the car. If you're going through a rough time, I just want you to sit with that. And I hope that helps you, because it's really helped me. Your loved ones are on the other side. People who died and coming back reported out-of-body experiences. Science, modern science, you just cannot explain this. It's more than people just like, oh, they're just hallucinating and the brain chemistry is fiery. It's deeper than that, guys. We are more than just neurochemistry and neurons firing in the brain. Like, these people, they when they are in this state of consciousness, they are seeing their loved ones in perfect health and youth and telling them like, hey, you know what? Everything's okay. There are stories of people being forced to, or even deciding to come back to this world after experiencing infinite cosmic bliss, peace, joy, and love. Right? I think there's a mix. I think there's some people like, oh, there's no way I'm going back. I want to stay here forever, right? And then there's spirits on the other side, or other entities. People like, no, you got to go back. You don't have a choice. And other people are like, no, I have to go back. Oh, this is so great and this is so amazing. I don't want to leave, but I need to go back because I can't leave my husband or my wife alone, or my children. Like, I got to go back and take care of them. Or I have a mission to do. I have, the rest of my life to live. And then they come back and they're so much more grateful for their lives. And they're so glad that they went through that experience, because they went to the other side and they saw what is real. What is realer than this? And it gives them the courage to come back and face life with all of its challenges and all its suffering and pain and horrors. We are all one. We are here to experience and to learn lessons. This is a big classroom playground. It's some sort of crazy simulation. I don't know. Again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm just exploring ideas and considering what's possible. We're here for a purpose. Everything has a purpose. Even though we may not understand what it is or what it means now, love is all that matters. Now and forever? Is that what it is? It's like there's nothing truly to fear. There's truly nothing to fear. And this life is so short, it'll go by fast enough, and then we'll wake up from this crazy dream, and then maybe we'll start over. We'll start a new game, a new life. I don't know, guys. Let's say all this is not true. Everyone's crazy, and all those thousands of people who report their experiences are just crazy liars. And well, what about this? What if we can have a Pascalian wager that it is such? We believe that these stories are true, and we try to make the most of our current lives based off the idea that every moment deserves a higher quality of intent, that we are here to learn. And I don't know, maybe we live accordingly in a stoic existentialist framework. I think that's still very, very super valid. Again, to emphasize, it's going to be okay. And maybe dying is actually not that bad, because when you die, you don't lose anything. And there's nothing to fear. An infinite love awaits. And that world is realer than this one. Some would say this world is not real, or it's literally a dream, a super vivid dream, not without meaning. Again, perhaps meaning we cannot understand in this lifetime in our current human experience. But maybe that means all your crazy shit, like all the suffering that you're going through, maybe it means like it's not in waste, like it's not in vain, and there's like a reason for you to go through it. There's an opportunity for you to grow, and that whatever crazy, seemingly horrible things happen in this insane, crazy world, that at the end of it, everything's going to be reconciled. And actually, there is true ultimate justice and love, joy, peace, and freedom on the other side. We've just chosen to forget it, maybe. I'm going to explore this existentialist idea that it all means something, even if we don't understand exactly what that might be. Okay, I'm going to talk about a cultural idea, cultural experience. I'm going to talk about a movie. I'm going to reference a movie right now. One of my favorite movies, Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner. At the end of the classic movie Blade Runner, spoiler alert, skip the next couple of minutes if you haven't seen it. Because I'm going to talk about the climax, the ending. The antagonist, Roy Batty, is a replicant. And in the Blade Runner universe, replicants are these human clones that have a limited 4-year lifespan. And at the climax, basically what happens is the protagonist, Rick Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, is in a life-death struggle with Roy Batty, the antagonist, the replicant, and he's done some bad stuff. Like, he's killed a lot of humans, and so that's why, like, he's like the quote-unquote bad guy, right? He wants more life. And so he even killed, like, his creator, the guy who started all the replicants. Anyways, they're in a life-death struggle, like way up in the skyscrapers on a stormy night, and it's very dark and it's very rainy, and Rick Deckard, our hero, is about to like fall off to his death when at the last moment Roy Batty grabs him and swings him up and saves his life, right? They were in a life-death struggle trying to kill each other, but Roy Batty spares him and saves his life. And he gives this incredible monologue. It's like one of the most famous monologues ever, and it's super beautiful. And he says, this 4-year-old replicant who's been in space battles and, seen all kinds of things. He says, "I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain. Time to die." And then he dies. He expires, right? And that's the end. And he, you could interpret it like he redeems himself and makes him actually really human, demonstrates his own humanity, even though the society in the universe doesn't consider him to be human or deserving of rights. He shows real humanity by trying to redeem himself, by trying to find meaning and saving the protagonist who's trying to kill him. Okay? And I want you to kind of zoom out and think about this, all the moments of your own life. Okay, imagine all the moments of your life. The mundane ones, the tragic and horrible ones, the most beautiful and exciting epic ones. They happen and they're lost and gone forever. Or are they? And this is what I like to think is that not all moments are actually lost like tears in the rain. And there's going to be a life review at the end of your life. And you might be revisiting every single moment in pure knowing perspective, 360 degrees. Yes, spoiler alert, fam. Not all moments are lost like tears in the rain. Like, they all have meaning. Every moment has meaning. You just don't understand it. I don't know. Maybe they're locked away for eternity in the Akashic records. Okay. Tears in the rain. Blade Runner. Now, I want to quote you. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's play Faust. Goethe, yes. Faust, the second place, Faust the second. There's a scene where Faust says this. Here's a quote. Then to the moment I could say, tarry a while, you are so fair. The traces of my days on earth will survive into eternity. Envisioning those heights of happiness, I now enjoy my highest moment. I'm sorry to preface this by saying I'm not doing justice to this at all. I feel like I'm disrespecting this great work of art by even just mentioning Faust. You know, I've never read Faust, like the entire thing, nor do I appreciate how brilliant and rich this quote is, or the context, the immediate context, or the context of the entire play. You know, but something stuck out to me a long time ago regarding something about this play. I don't even know if this is the quote I was thinking about or that I heard or read about, but so I'm just grasping at straws. Please indulge me in this vulgar interpretation. Okay, let me read this quote again. He's talking about this moment. I don't know the exact context, but it's after living a long life and not finding meaning into it. He says, then to the moment I could say, tarry a while, you are so fair. The traces of my days on earth will survive into eternity. Envisioning those heights of happiness, I now enjoy my highest moment. It's like saying I may die and this moment may be lost, but God damn it, like this is my moment and I'm going to take it for what it is and I'm going to find meaning in it. I'm tying one dying fictional character's great drama and attempt at redemption and finding meaning in their existence to another. Roy Batty, the rogue replicant, and Faust, the scholar who sold his soul to the devil for unlimited knowledge. It sounds like an existentialist cry. Damn it all, I'm going to live this moment. This moment is true. I make it real and I give it meaning. Damn the world, damn God, damn everything. Like this is it. And wouldn't we all, okay, bear with me, wouldn't we all, at the end of our lives, our unique individual lives, want to be able to believe in our heart of hearts that it meant something? Wouldn't we all, at the end of our lives, want to say that it meant something, all of it? But it does mean something. Every moment means something. Every thought, every action, every emotion reverberating through the quantum field for all eternity. Everything, everywhere happening will happen all at once. Here's the thing, guys. Maybe this is a digression, but if you are willing to explore NDEs, near-death experiences, and the evidence is overwhelming, then it's no longer such a crazy leap of faith to explore pre-birth experiences, past lives, as expounded upon by Christian Sundberg in his book, A Walk in the Physical. I listened to this book, the whole thing, and I'm going through my second listen through, and it's incredible. I don't know what I think. I don't know if I believe all and he just says, like, just take what's of value and take what is helpful to you. He talks about deeply meditative experiences in his life where he remembered past lifetimes and choosing the life that he lives now. It's really incredible. If you're enjoying this talk or this episode and the stuff we're talking about, and near-death experiences, I highly encourage you to check it out. And it begs the question, what if people choose their lives before being born? And this is really a topic for another episode, but again, it's another adjacent rabbit hole with NDEs to explore. There are two sides of the same coin, near-death experiences and pre-birth experiences. I wish we called NDEs post-death experiences or PDEs. NDEs are sort of a misnomer if you think about it. It's not like people went near death. They actually did die, and their experiences they're sharing with us are after they died. So that's practically post-death to me. PDEs and PBEs. Get it? Get it? Post-death and pre-birth experiences. There's a symmetry between pre-birth and post-death experiences. You see what I did there? Like, I think we should call them that. Post-death experiences, not just near-death experiences. Finally, I want to talk about coming full circle in my faith. I've come full circle. It's quite a trip to think about it. I've talked about it in past episodes. I used to be a serious, devout Christian, Protestant. I was a conservative, reformed Christian. And my dream, like 14 years ago, whatever, was to be a pastor, a Christian pastor and like missionary evangelist. I've gone from being a Christian and believing in God in heaven to not believing in God in heaven to going back to believing in God in heaven. I'm just using new age spiritual woo-woo words like source and infinite consciousness to describe it. I don't know. It feels different to me, guys. And maybe it's not faith. Like, I still might call it faith, but it's not like a weak, lame Christian, oh, when we die, we're going to go to heaven and we're going to be with Jesus forever and it's going to be great. Like, because believing the alternative is scary, and that's what brings people a lot of comfort, and that's why they cling to religion. It's like, I'm too scared to face the possibility that when we die, there's nothing and this cold existence is all there is. And I need to cling to this idea of eternity and God and stuff for me to, be a good person and to find meaning. And I just, oh man, when I die, like, I want to be in heaven. You know what I mean? I think that's freaking lame. I think it's like a form of cowardice. I judge it. I judged it hard. I still judge. I'm still human, guys. I still have an ego. But this feels different to me because it's not, because, as a typical atheist or skeptical, where's the evidence? You Christians, you Christians with your Bible and the Jesus and the afterlife and whatever, like, where's your evidence, right? And people just, it's the Bible, it's the Holy Scriptures and, God's judgment and whatever. Oh, so lame. Okay, I'm not doing justice to the discussion at all. So, just bear with me. But when I'm looking at these near-death experiences, I'm like, wait, there's evidence. It's like scientific evidence. It's people sharing their experiences, like this is not like something people wrote about like a couple thousand years ago and put it in books that were put together, the Council of Nicaea by fallible human men. It's like, no, people just talking about, hey, I got in a car accident and I saw my mom and I saw all this crazy stuff and I realized this life is not what we think it is. They can't all be lying. Thousands of people giving near-death experience accounts. And I mean, just listen to all the people sharing the stories in the YouTube video links in my professional scientific academic bibliography of sources. The corroboration, is that the right term? It's undeniable. I don't know if I'm expressing that right. Like, there's a lot of evidence, guys. Like, I invite you to be open-minded and consider it, that there's more to this life than just this physical plane of existence. When we die, it's infinite love. I think that's it. I think the argument is stronger on the level of form. We're talking about thoughts and ideas and worldviews. I think the argument is stronger that when we die, there's way more to this. There's just nothing. It's not like we're just nothing. I used to maybe believe that, but now that I've studied it and now that I've, doom scrolled through a bunch of NDE content, I'm just like, I don't see it any other way. Again, I'm going through a phase and I'm not the same person, or I didn't think or believe all the same stuff I did a month ago, let alone a year ago. So my thoughts and views might and probably will change, right? So like I said, like I keep saying, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I might believe something completely. I might be Mormon tomorrow or next week. Who knows, guys? But yeah, again, I'm going to reiterate, like, I've come full circle in my faith or spiritual journey. I have some ideas, I have some resentment of religion. Again, maybe I'll talk about it in another episode. But I think this is also helping me heal that resentment. I mean, it's so crazy. To recap, this is how my spiritual journey has gone. When I was a kid, growing up in the Korean American church, I believed in God from a Christian framework, and I feared God's judgment and eternal damnation, and truly believed I was going to hell. Okay, there was a period in my teenage years when I thought I was going to hell and suffer forever because God is just and I was not being just, right? What? Because I had naughty thoughts and I played video games and I was a glutton and I ate too much food, right? I thought I was going to hell because I deserve God's punishment because I'm such a dirty sinner. I really believe that. And you know what? That was the hell itself, just believing all that BS. Okay. Later, though, I experienced salvation in Christ as a Christian, experiencing moments of pure spiritual bliss. Okay, this is a topic for another episode, but I like states of spiritual ecstasy, not taking any drugs or hallucinogenics. Like I've had experiences. And if you grew up in the Christian church, you might understand what I'm talking about, like being slain in the spirit, just feeling this overwhelming bliss and connection to God or to Jesus or the Holy Spirit, in moments of worship or like being on a mission trip, just, when your mind and your spirit's open to these things like that, sometimes these things happen. I went through that. I believed in hell, and then I believed I was saved. And then in college, I lost my faith. I had a faith crisis because I started asking questions and my worldview collapsed. And I experienced an existential meltdown, nihilism, atheism, and trying to pick up the pieces and trying to find out what my life should mean. And that's a big reason why, I dropped out of college. I was a biblical and theological studies major, guys. My dream was to be a pastor. I was all in on Jesus. And then I lost my faith and I didn't know what to do. And I racked up a bunch of student loan debt. And I asked my oldest, wisest brother for help. And long story short, he said, let's go to Korea. And that's how I ended up in Korea. And I'm glad all that happened. Okay. And during the process, I found existentialism, explored different ideas, different philosophies, right? I went from, believing in God in heaven to, oh, no, there's no such thing as God in heaven. No, we're going to die. Oh, it's so miserable. Oh, nihilism. Oh, none of this means anything. Oh, it's so lame. Oh, life is so cruel. And I went to being okay with there not being God or heaven in my early 20s and reinterpreting God, heaven and hell and respecting them as metaphysical or symbological ideas of what life on earth could be and thus, in fact, derive great meaning. Looking through the lenses of different philosophers and worldviews and ideas, the lenses of Ayn Randian objectivism or Friedrich Nietzsche's Übermenschen ideals, his ideals of the Übermensch, right? How he says all that stuff about like God is dead and we've murdered him, and it's just because he's talking about the Übermensch, the Overman is the perfectly independent spirit that we don't need no God. We're strong, independent. Übermensch, right? That, we can find morals and values and ethics within ourselves without needing some sort of artifact of external or religion, right? To show us how to live a good life. Right? I don't know if I'm doing it justice. You can correct me if that, and there's Marcus Aurelius, right? The Stoics, the ideals of Stoic virtue. I've talked about that in this channel just a few episodes ago. I love Marcus Aurelius and meditations, and it's the eternal standard to strive for, and I think coming from a traditional Christian worldview all the way to losing the faith and then coming to some sort of a modern existentialist view of stoicism, some combination of these things, a strong modern existentialist view. I think it's admirable. I think it's interesting, and I think it's worthwhile. The journey has been worthwhile. I think even getting far to explore these ideas and being to where I have been, I consider what I might consider these things to be a positive, life-affirming worldview, and the attitude associated being real but positive and be okay, maybe when we die, that's it. But at least we can just find the meaning within ourselves and be virtuous and find reward and virtue in itself and be kind to others without expecting God to reward us or any of that bullshit. Just be a good person because it's good for your soul and it's good for you and it's good for nature and God and what I mean. Better than staying in nihilism. And for my perspective, according to my ego, better than just staying traditional Christian. And if you are that's cool, I get it. I've been it, I'm not saying that I'm better than you. My ego will say that, but I gotta humble myself. Again, this may be a talk for another time. So, and then as of the past couple years, I don't really talk much about it, but going all the way to non-dualist metaphysics and studying A Course in Miracles, which I really don't feel like I'm comfortable to go into depths, but like really as of late, even just trying to study it, non-dualism. And in the past few months, only finding out through near-death experience, evidence-based revelations that heaven or just alternate super real states of consciousness are beyond real and just beyond our human understanding is this all crazy, to coming to this point where everything has a divine purpose and that everything is ultimately okay. Coming from a Christian and doing all that nihilism, I hope you follow my train of thought. I'm sorry. It's been a long day, guys. I'm saying this life is just a short trip inside the coffee shop to pick up coffee while our friends are waiting outside in the car engine still running. And love is all that matters. Christianity to nihilism, to existentialism, to post-deconstructing Christian non-dualist, to NDE believer, to believing in God again, or just calling it the source or infinite consciousness or whatever. Heaven is real after all. GG, guys. Like, spoiler alert. Oh, man, heaven is real. Everything's going to be okay, guys. What? It's an incredible mystery of consciousness, this crazy simulation, this crazy playground. Infinite lives that we just can't comprehend. I don't know if I believe this reincarnation. I don't know. I just don't want to believe it. Like, it's so crazy. I don't want to believe in reincarnation. What, I was a woman in my past life? Okay, maybe. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't know what you think. Tell me, guys. Like, what do you think? You think all this stuff is crazy, or do you have your own experiences you'd like to share, or some other ideas? Please share with me with your thoughts. Email me at mime@mimetime.com, or hit me up at mimetime. I'd love to hear what your thoughts. If you know me in person, please send me a message or a voice memo or email, anything. Let's grab some coffee, guys. Yeah, infinite lives. We just can't comprehend. So let's just enjoy the ride while we can and bring a higher quality of intent to each moment and just be kind and loving to ourselves and to others. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's working itself out. Everything will reconcile itself. Guys, everything's going to work itself out. Everything is working itself out, even if we don't see it right now. Because you are love, eternal, and changeless. Remember that when you're going through a really, really, really difficult time and there seems to be no hope. Family, brothers and sisters, everything's going to be okay. You are love. You are loved. You will be loved forever and ever. This love, this tsunami, this tidal wave, it's coming for you. It's coming for us all. Whether we want it or not, it's coming, guys. It's realer than real. And I hope that gives you some peace. I hope that gives you some comfort. And I hope it can enable you to feel a slighter, higher degree of joy and freedom. I hope this finds you well. Thank you so much for listening to me. Again, I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear your feedback. Reach out to me any way you can. Just remember, no matter what, at the end of it all, when everything's said and done, your ultimate identity is love. My ultimate identity is love. Our ultimate identity is love. Infinite, pure love, joy, freedom. And deep down, I have so much love for the entire universe, for God, for this world, for everyone on this planet, for everyone and everything, and for you. I love you. Thank you so much. Please take care. I'll talk to you next time. Mime time.